Being accountable means to be subject to giving account or having the obligation to report, explain, or justify something. It means to be answerable for your actions and decisions. Now, this is a position most people do not like to be in because they want to live independently. Yes, they just want to live without having to bear any consequences for their actions. Is being accountable important? Is it necessary? What benefits does it provide? And how can one even be accountable? These questions and many more will be answered after this short break. I'm Jola and this is Evolve with Jola. Welcome to today's show. Being accountable requires transparency and responsibility. Sounds like being vulnerable, right? To discuss with me today is Mr. Kelly Dugood, a professional hospitality consultant, business strategist, and life coach. Oh my God, thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kelly, you know we are in this age of independence, where independence is the word for the now. Most of us actually are so highly self-consumed. We don't want to be accountable for our actions. We don't want to have to answer to anyone. We just want to live our lives the way we want it without having to face any consequences. So the need for this discussion today, what does it mean to be accountable and why is it important?
Thank you very, very, very much. You see, the word accountability is a word that you cannot separate from the word life itself. So when we talk about accountability, it simply means a process where you are assured of an evaluation that must take place from the people or community or organization that have given you a task or a responsibility on how well you've handled it, how well you have dealt with the responsibilities that you've been given. So basically put, it is an assurance of evaluation where you give details, reports on how you've handled those things that has been put in your place or the responsibilities that you've been given. So it is very, very important because it creates a system of transparency. It also creates a system of improved record keeping, because when you know that you're going to give an account, nobody will tell you, you know what, keep this record, because when you want to start giving your account, you need some kind of evidence and stuff like that. So accountability also creates a precedent for other people to follow. So when they step into your shoes years after you're long gone, they can be able to see the footprint. This was what happened years ago, or while so-and-so person was and all of that. So accountability in itself is life, because we see when people are in places like the geologists, the physical geographers and all of that, they could tell this stone or this rock, be it igneous rock, metamorphic rock, or sedimentary rock, has existed over this time. This rock stayed close to the water and all that. So the earth on its own has a way of giving an account of itself. The same thing as us as human beings. We are accountable, whether you like it or not, through lies whatever you believe. You go to the hospital, the doctor will tell you your liver is giving an account that you've been drinking too much, or you've been smoking too much, or you've been taking too much sugar. So accountability is life itself. The rain falls, the earth bears witness to it. So you come out, oh, it rained. Yeah, the earth is giving an account. So accountability to me is life itself.
So remember, life itself is accountability. Accountability is life itself. So how can one become accountable? What are the steps I need to put in place to help me become an accountable person?
Okay, let's put it this way. Everything about what we do, especially as individuals, it has to be guided by our vision. Where are you going to? Like I was told before that when your desire changes, your destination changes. So when you make a decision to say, from today I want to be accountable, the question is why? That is the main thing that should guide those steps. So let me start from from here by saying you need to first submit to someone if you want to be accountable. Submitting to someone, so you're saying, I want to be giving an account to this person. So this person have the right to ask, to demand accountability from me, the way I'm living my life in a particular area. So first you have to write it down. Write it down. The why. That why is what strengthens you when you don't feel like doing it again. But you'll be staring at your destination in the face like, I have to be accountable. So why should I be accountable? What is the benefit for me to be accountable and all of that? So you write it down. After you've written it down, you now have to create daily task, weekly task, monthly task, or objective. How do I meet these things I've written down? One by one. And also don't forget that when you write these things down, you also need to liaise with that person you have submitted to be calling you to account, to see if you are following those things that you've written down. Otherwise, it will look like like every other New Year resolution. 31st of December, you said, I will not do this again. And that same week, you go back. Just because there was no one that called you to account. And another thing accountability does is it makes you to live a responsible life, and that forms some of the pillars of accountability, which responsibility is one of them. It bottles you up to be responsible. It bounds you up with your task. Then it also makes people to trust you, and you want to be trusted. Then you now have to make that point that, you know what, I want to be trusted. I have to be accountable. So this is why I should be accountable. Then of course, you cannot separate accountability from reward and liability. So if you do well, fine. If you don't do well, you have to pay that price. You have to be like you're being punished for it. So talking about what I must do to be accountable, first you need to submit to someone. Then you write it down. After you've written down, you carry out certain steps, or you bullet points on what are those small things that I have to be doing to be accountable. So practically, you can say, let me give an example. I want to be accountable with my finances. And you now say, Mr. John, please, can you help me out with this? I want to be accountable with my finances and all that. So please, every week, I want to be depositing 5,000 into your account. And before I withdraw it, I have to convince you this is what I want to. So you're not obligated to, but you are submitting to that decision you've made and all of that. Then after, you now say, okay, for me to be able to give you that 5,000 weekly, I need to be putting 1,000 aside every day and all of that. So these are the little steps that you can, put in place to see that you personally are accountable. But let's not forget the fact that when we talk about accountability, there are two types. You have the internal accountability and the external accountability. So the most important one there is the accountability that happens within you, inside, because you are alone, being guided by your own principle. So that is the main accountability, because the accountability that is external, you can fake it. You can just, so that it won't look like people are doing it just to get the promotion, just to get the applause of the people and all of that. But the accountability that takes place on the inside is actually what guides you. That is what builds your character. That is the true accountability. So when you have these things in mind, it should just be easy for you to be accountable, because you want to be responsible. You want people to trust you. You know that if you are not accountable, there's a price to pay. You know that if you're not accountable, nobody will trust you. And you don't want to do all that. And finally, when you're accountable, you are able to talk to people. You have a voice. You have that integrity to speak because you've been there. You can tell somebody, stop this, but because you are doing it. So those are the little steps that I think one can take to be accountable.
All right. With this understanding of accountability, what areas, I'm asking personally, what areas in my life do I need to be accountable?
Beautiful. Let's ask the question like this. What areas in your life should you be unaccountable?
Okay.
So you can see that every part of our lives require accountability.
Right.
Because if you are not responsible or accountable in any part of your life, you're already in problem in that part of your life. Take for example, I'm married and I'm accountable first to myself because I know that I'm accountable to my pastor, I'm accountable to God, I'm accountable to my wife, I'm accountable to my children, I'm accountable to my finances. So I'm bottled up. So I cannot afford to misbehave because there are people who will ask me questions tomorrow. Imagine your son asking, Daddy, where were you when your mates were making money? What will you tell your child? So when you are with this truth in your mind, there is no way you want to leave any stone unturned. You have to be accountable in every area of your life. Your finances, your marriage, your business, even to your neighbors, even your health. That is why even in law, they say you owe everyone a duty of care. A duty of care. Anyone that can be affected by your conduct, by your action. So it means that as you walk the road, you're accountable. Even to the government properties, the street lights, you are accountable because they will ask. Should anything happen, they will say, hey, sir, we saw that before the street light fell, you passed this place not up to 5 minutes ago. Can you explain? So you can see that. And the truth is, we are made as human beings to give account of how we live our life. Basically that. So no area is left for unaccountability. We are supposed to be accountable in every area of our life. That's my opinion.
All right. We must be accountable in every areas of our life, like you heard my guest say. So now I'm going to ask, what are these basic characteristics of an accountable person?
Okay, talking about the basic characteristics of an accountable person. Number one is responsibility. They keep to time. And there is this self-worth. They keep to time and they don't want you to waste their time.
Yes.
And usually when you ask them, they will tell you, when I was leaving home, I told someone that I'll be back in 5 minutes, and I intend to keep to that. When you tell them, count this money. If it's 50, they tell you it's 50. If it's not, they tell you it's not. So they are true to their words. They are responsible, they are true to their words. And these people tell the truth easily. They are quick to tell the truth than they lie. And if you ask them, they tell you because the truth is easy to remember. Why? They know they will give account. They don't stand out your words. So accountable people are truthful people. And not too far, I can tell you that accountable people are people that are wise and patient people because they know they will give account. So they don't just jump into things. Have you gone to a shop where you require a professional service? A professional service. You see, before these people, start doing anything with you, they will ask you a series of questions. Have you been doing this? You do that? Like a doctor's room. They're professionals because they want to be sure. They want proper information. Why? Because they know one wrong move, they will be called to account. Then finally, accountable people, they keep record. They are record keepers. You can't take that away from them. You can find that with our fathers of the past. Why are you keeping this? This newspaper is 50 years old. Why is it still here? See, don't worry. One day, they will just be involved in casual conversation with their kinsmen, and they will make reference to it. In 1958, that is it. When the aeroplane did this, so they are record keepers. They keep things. Accountable people are responsible people. They take responsibility. And because they know they take responsibility, they do everything that they can remember. So they speak the truth because they know that they will be called to account. They keep records. So accountable people are responsible people.
Okay, Kelly, it's one thing to understand accountability. It's another thing to know who you're accountable to. So now there's a difference between being accountable to and being accountable for. What's this difference and who are we accountable to and for?
Okay, thank you very much. When we talk about being accountable for. Basically, you're looking at yourself. I'm accountable for the way I live my life because people are watching me. They will look at my track record. What will I be remembered for? What will you be remembered for? So you're accountable for the things you do, for your actions. Now, when you talk about accountable to, you're talking about the accountability that you give to the people that have placed, responsibilities upon you. People who have given you certain tasks, and you now have to give accountability to them when they call for it. That's answerability. So when we look at both, you're looking at yourself and them, and they are both important. You are responsible for yourself, for your family, because they are ruled, governed by your own decisions, by your own principles. Now you live there and you are in society, you are in your place of work, you are accountable to them according to the precepts, the rules and regulations that govern that city, govern that community, govern that company. So you are accountable to them. So how do you know who you are accountable to and for is now going to be put this way. To the community, you are accountable to the elders, the governors, the GM, the supervisor, your superiors and all of that. Then those under you and all of that, you are accountable for them. So as you're living your life, going about your daily activities, those are the two factors that guide your actions.
Okay, what do you have to say to people that have been burnt by being accountable? People that's been cheated, people that's been ripped off. Like you have an idea, you go to your superior to tell them about it, and they go out there and pitch it as their own idea. What do you have to say to these people? Because now they've given up on the process of accountability.
The thing is, there is nothing against the truth. You are accountable, you're responsible, that's who you are. There's nothing I would say other than you just keep being accountable, because the truth is, people will always talk. You are accounting, they talk. You don't give account, they will talk. But in the end, what will you be remembered for? What are you? What are your values? What are your virtues? That's the most important thing. So they will talk. But the truth of the matter is, if you're a person of great accountability, if you're a responsible person, there must be one or two incidences or events that have cost you pain, that have cost you a lot, just because of that path you have decided to embrace as an accountable person. But you shouldn't stop there, because one day your time will come. Abraham Lincoln said, I will read and prepare myself because I know one day my chance will come. He was cheated too many times. He didn't get what he wanted, but he kept on pushing on. He kept on being accountable. And one day, of course, his day came and he became the president. So I would tell them to keep holding on, never give up.
What position can I find myself in where I decide and tell myself, you know what, I don't feel like accountability is required here?
That's a very, very tricky one. And I bet you that is not a very good voice that you're hearing when you get to that point, saying to yourself, accountability is not required here. You're telling yourself a lie. As a matter of fact, that is when the accountability is required more from you. Because most times we get to account where we are surrounded by people that can demand an answer from us, people who are watching us, people whom we have projected a particular kind of life to. But when we are in another environment where nobody knows us there, nobody will ask you any question, you can just be anything or anybody, that is usually the period where you kind of hear those voices in your head that, you know what, nobody will know, just do this, just do that. But I bet you, that is when you actually need to be accountable. And that is why it is important that you understand that you need to be accountable to yourself. That is the only thing I can say about that situation. So I don't think there's any situation in life where you sit down and say, no, accountability is not required anymore. No, that's not true.
All right, so you heard it. Accountability is required at every point in your life. When you start to hear that voice that tells you, you know what, I don't think it's required here, that is when it is most important. Okay, so I would like you to share an accountability system running in your life currently, and in what areas?
Okay, I years ago when I was in South Africa, I went there with the mindset that they are hostile people, they don't like foreigners, they do this, they do that. So my own experience was different. I found people that I loved, I made good friends, and everything was just okay with me. And it was not like what I had before. So I now opened a Facebook page and I started sharing my story there. You know what? Don't generalize, discover people for who they are. Not all the taxi drivers are bad, some are still good. And, I was just writing out whatever I think, whatever I feel. And people started following and started following and following. All of a sudden, I wake up in the morning and I get people sending me message. Hello, the good Kelly, we've not got any message from you today and all that. So I now build that thing into my morning rituals. After my morning devotion, I must tell the people something, On Facebook, they will say, what is in your mind? Sometimes I will just say, nothing, And that's what's in your mind. Always want to prompt something out, like, what do I have to share with people today? So that's one activity that, I'm accountable to daily. And number two is, personally, as a man, as a husband, I don't have any dark time. I don't go off the radar. My wife knows where I am at each point in time. She knows so I can be spotted. Even my pastor have an idea of where I am at each point in time. So I am surrounded by accountability, and that is daily, not like daily. You understand that? Then also I'm surrounded by people who I have spoken to about accountability, responsibility, that will ask me questions if I'm doing otherwise. So these are some of the daily steps that I have put around myself to be accountable as well. Otherwise, trust me, it's not easy. Sometimes you just want to, talk back and just, do the other, but you think about what would the people that are looking up to me, what would they say? How I would disappoint them or not? So you call yourself back
to order.
Track, yeah.
We've gotten to the point where we have to go, but before we leave, do you have any parting words for us?
Yes, I do. And to all of you looking at me now, watching me, and let me just say to you, it pays to be accountable. Virtues and values still pays. Integrity is the new currency we spend. You cannot have that currency when accountability is far from you. Whether you believe it or not, one day you will give account. The way you live your life, your health, your family, everything you think you have done in the secret. Wait, on your day of promotion, they will show up and they will call the cards. The people you helped secretly will come out and say, no, this man helped me. You've even forgotten about it. Those that you treated badly will also come up and speak against you. So nothing is hidden. Everything is still here. So please, I beg you, be accountable. Accountability is life.
Accountability is life. Thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on the show once again.
Thank you for having me.
You've made a very great impact here today. And also, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here today. You've heard it all. Now, it is left to us to put in the right system to become accountable for better results. If you must go far, you must learn accountability. You can definitely connect with us via our socials on Instagram @_Evolve with Jola, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube @Evolve with Jola. Also check out our website www.evolvewithjola.com. Till I see you next week. Bye.